Hey, Michael Gelbart here, shifting perspective. Well, shifting perspective this week here in Washington, D.C. I'm at a Child Holocaust Survivors and Descendants conference, and very powerful to hear the stories. My parents, other survivors, not that many of them left, who we call 2G, which is my generation. 3G was which is the next generation of Descendants, as we've revived from certainly one of the greatest horror stories, terror stories, atrocities in humanity's awful history of so many atrocities. And this is 80 years ago and very much in my body. So I have some teachings around that. So I think today's teaching is around rage and kindness, rage and love. And both of those emotions exist. The rage is louder. It's in some ways in many ways more intense, volatile. It's very much about reactivity, about deep sense of pain, deep sense of injustice. And it speaks loudly, yes. It can be very destructive. And the thing with anger, as Michael Meade says, is there's two problems with it. One is expressing and the other is suppressing. And just like pain is 5 times more intense than pleasure, it speaks louder, like a doorbell ringing versus a knock at the door. Kindness is both inherent. I would say it's what is kindness? Is it genetic, a disposition? If we're shown kindness, then we may well be more kind, I'd imagine. A lot of kindness has been shown to me in my life, certainly. And then it's also, I think it's a choice, right? I think it's a cultivation of character. And I see survivors that have gone through horrors, and yet they're peaceful and loving and kind and fun. We've been dancing, we've been laughing, telling jokes, as well as crying and telling our stories of second generation of impacts and first generations of, through their eyes, they have seen such horrors. So the rage, I feel, is at injustice. It's at the lack of accountability. It's at tens of thousands of Jewish villages, shtetls, towns that were destroyed, communities that were destroyed. And think about that, tens of thousands, 50,000, I don't know what the number is exactly. But this wasn't just by the Nazis, it was also by Hungarians and Belarusians and Ukrainians and Lithuanians that also were not kind to the Jewish people, who were scapegoated for all of their tsuris, all of their problems. So rage is a very powerful emotion, and the greatest rage sometimes I've felt certainly has been towards God and my own metaphysical evolution, my own belief system in relation to the divine, the sacred. And my dad would ask where was God when I'd go to the synagogue, Orthodox synagogue, on Shabbats. So that takes me in many theological directions, and I have wrestled with that so that I have my own spirituality now that's evolved. I don't have that kind of anger at God. I have anger at the injustice. I have anger at the tremendous rage at the lack of accountability. Something like 1% of Nazis were prosecuted, and when you see these pictures of Nazi Germany, there were millions of people at those rallies. This wasn't a few Germans, this was an entire society. Yes, there was authoritarianism, and yes, there was mass totalitarianism, and there was plenty of joy on their faces when they're saying Sieg Heil and raising their arms, and and massacring Jews and participating in one of the most heinous crimes in history. Comparable to what? The millions of buffaloes being murdered, blankets with typhoid being given to Native Americans. I mean, so that rage is, I think it's important to really validate the rage and not destroy with it, but to construct with it and to resist with it and be defiant with it and have that be an energy that's available and not internalized against ourselves or against our bodies, not stuffed, but also channeled, yes? And to combine those, rage and kindness. I think that's the teaching I have for today. I think that's where I am in being at this conference all weekend long. We danced last night, and we celebrated life, we celebrate being humanitarian. And really the victory that we had over the Nazis was the fact of our love and kindness towards one another, the ways that we rebuilt families, the resiliency, the joy that I was given by my parents, a great childhood. They survived the Shoah, and all these survivors in Cleveland developed a great village and gave us a lot of joy, truly, and happiness and fun. So that's resilience, and take that, you fucking Nazis. Yeah, well, So this is Michael. This is about generational trauma. It's one of the missions I have in my life, is to heal generational trauma and respect all people and respect all lineages, and really dig deep into our own roots so that we're all drawing from the wells of blessings that we've been given that are greater than any atrocities that we've suffered and that one another has suffered. So here's to kindness and compassion and love and rage and respecting all those emotions, the whole range. I have blessings to you and to all of us.